Duzenye zone tawa tamche pambe che tambe chune donze kawadam de la cha che lo. Okay. So Tashi Delek. Paying homage to the Shakyamuni Buddha. Today I wanted to speak a little bit on how to maintain compassion in the complex world. We are actually born as a compassionate being, and we have a compassionate heart deep within ourselves. So, only thing is that we should know how to maintain our compassion. So, many times, on the spiritual journey, we try to cultivate compassion. We try to cultivate love. We try to cultivate kindness. We try to cultivate or we try to create love, compassion, kindness, and all those beautiful spiritual qualities. But from a Buddhist point of view, what we say is that we are born as a compassionate. We are compassionate being by nature, which also is the meaning of why we say every sentient being has a Buddha nature. You know, if we have a Buddha nature, then what is Buddha nature? Compassionate nature. Right? If we are compassionate nature, it means we are born that way. First of all, if we really want to know how to maintain our compassion, the first thing we have to understand that what is compassion? Is it something to be create? Is it something to be construct? Is it something to be cultivate? So, no, it is not something to be cultivated. It is something that happens in us spontaneously. It makes us feel good. And actually, when compassion happens, like when love happens, there is an immense of joy. When compassion happens, there is also a bitter, sweet feeling. So when our heart is beginning to open, when the compassion happens, you know, we all feel that, right? When we feel like a pure compassion to someone or towards the people, what happens? It happens like your heart is opening. Your heart is unfolding. And when it is unfolding, it needs a space. So when your heart is opening, your mind needs to be open. Because if you remain your mind closed and all this clouded mind, there is no way that your compassion can grow in it. No way. There's no space. So that is first thing we need to understand when we want to really maintain our compassion. So first we have to figure out what is compassion. And when we figure that out, compassion is not something I am not trying to cultivate, but I am cultivating the space around my compassion so that my compassion can grow. So same thing applies with the love. If you know how to maintain compassion, you know how to maintain love. And many times, almost everybody, you know, we all know and we have all experienced when love happens. Right? Some point in in our life that love happens. And it triggers by maybe some person, or sometimes it does not necessarily need to be triggered by some person. And also just like looking at the sunset and looking at the flower blooming, looking at the, like a beautiful waves in the ocean, something like a beautiful forest. Even sometimes when you see a beautiful bird, when you hear the beautiful bird singing in the forest, and when you see the beautiful waterfall, these kind of circumstances sometimes triggers to make our love happen. Compassion is a very valuable spiritual quality that it can survive only in the beyond. It cannot survive within the judgmental attitude. So that is why when we are about to maintain our compassion, even when you are praying, there are like sometimes there is a suggestion that when you don't feel really good with somebody, then we generate this kind of practice like of compassion, of saying, may that person be free from suffering. May that person be happy. Like we pray like that, and then sometimes we just kind of think like, okay, I'm praying for that person. I'm praying good things for that person. But still, I cannot maintain my compassion. Then it is like we are really forcing ourselves. And then also on the top of that, we are thinking like, I'm doing something good for that person. Unconsciously, you're again expecting that person to see how good you are. So when we get closer to the being a compassionate person, then we are connecting with our own truth, our own nature. As much as we are getting closer, that much we feel like we are grounded, like we are not like too much suffering. How, to maintain our compassion is first understand the compassion. Compassion is not something to be cultivated. Compassion is something to maintain. It is something that you can create space for your compassion to grow. And then when your compassion is growing, then do not make your compassion conditional by thinking that I'm doing something good for the world, that world should be good with me. Then you will be disappointed. So if you are doing something good, prayers and being compassionate, then that is like you are getting in touch with your own true nature. That is what you're really doing. Kangi duzi nyezo ne tawa tamche pangbe che tambe chune tenze kawadam te la cha ce lo.